Good morning, everybody. We're down here in Gilbert. This is Coffee Talk. I'm Marcus Fleming with Redfin. This is Justin Tonius with Preferred People's Mortgage. We're at a local coffee shop. It's at the Coffee Co. We've been here about 2 hours and I'm already forgetting the name. Today I want to talk about using your realtor's preferred lender. I've got a little bit of bias. I've got some issues. I'm typically spoiled by my preferred lenders. They always do great work with my clients, and the communication is always rock solid and very fast service. And I've got a handful of buyers right now that just didn't want to even try out the lender, didn't want to call them or interview them, and it's just giving me endless headaches. Just slow response times, lack of professionalism from the lender. The buyers are great, but just the lenders are putting a lot of unease, concern, and a whole lot of headache on my plate, plus it's kind of jeopardizing the deal. So I kind of thought Justin and I could talk a little bit about reasons for using a preferred lender, and he could shine a little bit of balance to my to my overly emotional response to my buyers not using my preferred lenders, since he's been doing this for years with builders as well. And if you've ever gone in looking for new homes, it's always that preferred lender. Nobody ever wants to use them. I've sold new homes in the past. I know exactly how it goes. So he's got some really good insight. So just talking about preferred lenders, what are your thoughts? Should a buyer always go straight to that realtor's preferred lender, or should they shop around?
Well, I think with any purchase you do, be it a service or be it a product, you should get a second opinion in just about anything you do. So I think you should certainly start with the preferred lender. Obviously, I got a little bit of bias with that, but the comfort level with the realtor and the loan officer definitely adds a benefit to the transaction. In today's environment, we continue to see changes in the mortgage industry that sometimes are well planned out, and the lender may have some foresight into that. Other times, we'll see changes that are implemented right away, and you need a lender that's able and willing to react quickly. And by having that comfort level with your realtor, we can pass that comfort level on to the consumer, you. But by all means, you should always get a second quote. Get a cost estimate, take a look at what the preferred lender is offering compared to what another lender is offering, and weigh the pros and cons. Again, it's just like anything you do in this economy. If you go to look for a car, you're not necessarily going to buy just the cheapest car out there. You're going to do some research to find out the pros and cons of each car and what you're looking for. So certainly get a second opinion.
Definitely. And I touched on what he was talking about with the communication. With my preferred lenders, I'm on a daily basis communication. If we're doing a deal together, every day we're calling, we're talking about what's new. Are there any new regulation changes coming up? Is there anything with the transaction we need to be aware of? There's a lot of just daily communication. It's really easy communication. I call him, he looked at it, it's like, look, there's somebody I'm used to talking to. Good conversation. It's like your best friend calling you. You pick up the phone. Now your mother-in-law calls, you might hit ignore a few times. It's kind of what happens with my non-preferred lenders. I'm an easy guy to talk to, and he's a guy to work with. I just, So, but I agree with Justin. I think no matter what, I want everybody to work with at least one lender, or at least two lenders, if not even three, if you're really ambitious in making sure you've got the correct rate. We have it happen all the time. I get buyers shop out. I mean, how often do you get outquoted?
Almost never. Almost never. Unless it's a family or friend of that individual. It's
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Unless somebody's just losing money on the deal. And that's, another reason why I really like working with these guys. Their rates are excellent, but I'm not promoting their rates. I'm just saying, apples to apples, the numbers are going to be almost the same, if not better, 9 out of 10 times with the preferred lender. But after that, you put the numbers aside, it comes down to what's the level of service. And what you don't see sometimes is a lot of communication that goes on in the background for that 30 days. That's really important. I mean, the lender just, that's valued there. I've had buyers walk away from $3,000 builder incentives. The rates were the exact same, and they said for $3,000 we'll walk away from it to know we're going to have excellent service, excellent communication, and the deal's going to be smoother. And I think it says a lot about that person's value of level of service that I think buyers just don't think about until we get down the road. The other issue kind of comes up with comparing numbers. We used to be able to do it way in advance. You can get a good faith estimate. It was line by line, and you could really kind of compare them. Nowadays, lenders won't issue a good faith estimate until you've got a loan under contract. By that point in time, your 30-day timeline started. Pressure's on there. You feel like you need to move forward. But Justin, you say there's enough time there, in the beginning to really shop and compare out lenders.
Absolutely. I think if you start with the preferred lender and you get them everything that they're looking for from a financial standpoint, pay stubs, bank statements, W-2s, have that information handy. Have that information in a folder with you. Work with the preferred lender. They're going to give you a list of items that may be needed in addition to what you've already provided. Get that information over to the preferred lender. And once you have all that stuff together and you contact another lender, more than likely they're going to need the similar paperwork. It's not going to be much variation in it, so you'll be ready to give that to them right away. And then you can get a cost estimate from both, or even a good faith estimate from both to make your decision. One of the biggest challenges in the market is maybe an appraisal, so you might want to hold off on ordering the appraisal for a few days until you kind of pick which lender you're going to proceed forward with. But by all means, have your financials in order, and then call the different lenders and ask them for a quote. And I want to touch base on something that you talked about, that comfort level, and your mother-in-law calling and sending her to voicemail.
Exactly.
Being a preferred lender, when Marcus calls, I know that it's an extremely important phone call. If I get a call from a phone number that I don't necessarily recognize, maybe a realtor that's not in my database, they may go to voicemail, and they may sit in voicemail for an hour or 2 hours, delaying the process. Obviously, if I'm not that preferred realtor's lender, my customer is the buyer, and I may only hear from the buyer and may only communicate with the buyer, and so there's that extra level of communication that's being missed by just going to voicemail.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about. There is, when I work with these preferred lenders, there's a lot more communication that just goes between the lender and the buyer, and I get cut out of the loop, which is detrimental. I mean, believe it or not, it's more communication and more work on my end, but it makes the process smoother. I can give the other the sellers or the buyers on the other side of the table more updates and more information, make them feel confident the deal is going to stick and that there's no reason to back out. Now, what would you then say the number one reason is that buyers don't want to use the preferred lender?
In my experience, in talking with customers that have used an outside lender after the closing, I've called and asked, what are your reasonings for going outside? A lot of times it's their perceived notion that there's some sort of extra cost by us being a preferred individual for each other, which I don't know where that quite comes from. And the other one is that they're just afraid to shop. They're afraid to get multiple quotes.
Really?
They're not real comfortable in understanding that they can have two lenders pull their credit report. You are allowed to shop per the FTC guidelines. They have a regulation that allows you to have your credit report pulled, we call it credit inquiries, into your credit report by the same type of company. So they've opened that up where it doesn't necessarily negatively hit your credit report.
Okay.
Because if you're shopping for a car, you should get 2 or 3 quotes. If you're shopping for a mortgage, you should get 2 or 3 quotes, which may require 2 or 3 different credit pulls.
So let's say a buyer goes to work with you and they send over the first packet of documents, and I have no doubts this is an overwhelming process. It's finding W-2s, it's finding just miscellaneous stuff that you thought you never really want, or you might have to call around to get. So you're working with them, and they're sending you one email after another, and finally you've got all 20 documents you need. But it's taken a few days because it's not an easy task. Mm-hmm. If that buyer now is kind of, they sent you everything, but they don't really have it organized on their side, are you willing to bundle it up for them in one big document, send it back to them so they can send it to another lender?
Absolutely. Friendly competition in this industry is great. It's healthy, and it does benefit everybody. I have no problem reciprocating for customers because the goal is to make sure that the customer themselves are happy with the process. If they're happy with the process, they may refer somebody back to me, they may refer somebody back to you, especially if I'm working with Marcus, my preferred realtor. That customer's still ours collectively. Even if they don't use me in the transaction, Marcus is still my customer for life and my preferred realtor along with his customers. So if it benefits Marcus to put those documents to another lender, it benefits all of us going forward. So.
Absolutely, and that kind of touches on the accountability aspect of it, that we are accountable to each other. If he wants to get more business from me, he's got to take really good care of my clients, because at the end of the day, it's all about customer satisfaction. Were you happy with the transaction? Were you happy with my level of service? And were you happy with the person that referred to you? There are a lot of realtors out there I know that won't refer just one lender or 2 or 3. They want you to find their own because they don't want to be liable if that lender drops the ball. I'm willing to take the liability because I know I have good relationships with these guys, and it's really important to me that at the end of the day, you go, Marcus was an excellent realtor to work with. His lender was great. I would do it again, and I'll recommend him to anybody. I mean, that's really what's important. I mean, sure, we all get paid at the end of the day, but not this customer service, and it's what we get. It's the joy of our job. So, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else is out there?
Well, talking on the preferred lender and communication, there's going to be a lot of changes coming in the financial service industry. You have the Dodd-Frank Financial Reform Bill, and we continue to see almost daily updates into how mortgages are going to be handled in the United States next year. And that flow of information, needs to really come from the licensed professional that understands how it's going to affect the consumer when they're applying for the loan. So by having a preferred lender, Marcus, you can kind of come to me any time of the day to figure out what's happening in the market, or I can come back to you and we can talk about kind of what's being said out there, how it's changing, and be ahead of that curve for our customers.
Let's give a little bit of insight about that new regulations on how they're talking about changing your guys' compensation. I think this is really interesting. I'm not sure it's fair or realistic, and the details aren't ironed out, but it definitely, I think it's enlightening. You guys enjoy it. So.
Absolutely. One of the changes that's coming in 2011 is how loan officers are paid. The details certainly have not been ironed out. There's really been no opinion on how we're going to be paid, but how loan officers are compensated now will not be the same in 2011. Currently, loan officers are paid a commission based on either the loan amount or the interest rate is the typical payout to a loan officer. Next year, they will not allow the loan officer to be paid based on either one of those items. Now, what does that mean? Nobody really knows yet. There's been some talk of creating some sort of annuity within the company and paying a loan officer out on an annuity basis, maybe on a volume basis, but nobody really knows yet. So at this point in time, it's all speculation.
It's interesting. I mean, definitely be something we'll keep you updated with, and as it evolves and changes, I think it's definitely going to be just a game changer for lenders, just moving forward. I mean, we've seen a lot of new regulation changes come out the past couple of years, trying to kind of make sure we don't go through this whole bubble again. And I think this is just one of those things that'll be interesting. Yep.
And then the other thing is the risk retention. There is talk of lenders having to put 5% into an account for every dollar that they spend or lend. So if you lend $100,000, you got to put $5,000 into an account and hold that for the life of the loan. At this point in time, there's been no clear definition of what a risky loan is. So as we move through 2011 and we get a clear indication of what a risky loan might be or might entail, we'll see the lending environment change slightly regarding the risk retention.
Excellent. Be interesting. So let's wrap it up for them. Summary thoughts on this. I was wrong. Well, I wasn't wrong. I still agree. Check with more than one lender. But I think something I learned today, start with the preferred lender, work with them, get your paperwork taken care of, get the good communication flowing, and then start shopping. Once you've got all your paperwork together, ask them to help you out with shopping around so you can go wherever else you want.
Answer the phone call when your mother-in-law calls.
All right, yeah, okay, I'll do that one.
Definitely start, with your preferred lender. Get a quote from a bank or from another local mortgage banker, and then sit down and compare the cost analysis to both as you move through the process.
And those new good faith estimates are pretty easy to compare. So either ask the lender to help you compare them, or if you want a third non-biased, ask me. I'm more than happy to tell you what to look at, because those good faith estimates they're clean, but they can also be a little confusing sometimes.
Absolutely. There's actually a page 3 of the good faith. At the bottom of page 3, it gives you the ability to shop 2 other lenders. So it is now required that column 1 will have your current lender's good faith estimate numbers, and then there's 2 blank spaces for you to write in what lenders you're getting quotes from. So it is designed for you to shop around. But you got to have a starting point. You got to start at point A and then go to point B and point C.
Excellent. And I've got a great blog post about how to compare those good faith estimates and an Excel spreadsheet if there's a little more techie, you want to do something a little outside the box. I'll post that in the blog post below.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you.